What's up, jobbers, and welcome to the latest edition of the Jobber Knocker podcast. As always, is Nestlemania. Alongside for the ride is not JC. We have a very suitable replacement this week on the Jobber Knocker. We had TJ 2 weeks ago, then JC came back, and then JC said, fuck it, I'm leaving again. We have another replacement. This is the Grammar Troll, an OG. He is, if everybody's shaking in his boots tonight because if they make a grammatical error, we know what's going to happen. Joe, the Joestopper, Pollock.
Greetings and salutations to you, Nestlemania. After a long and, well, frankly, undeserving hiatus, your troller of grammar has returned and is back on the scene.
Oh, we already got Doc in the chat saying, why you not ask Doc back? Well, it was because of all the feverish things you say about me, sir. No, honestly, Joe's been in the chamber for a very long time. We owe Joe a lot for what he does. He is, I didn't even put in there, he's the hashtag collision cowboy. So he's doing a lot of AEW work for us. So Backcracker, if you're available on the 23rd, apparently JC's taking yet another vacation. So if you would like to line that up, anybody, now that I've got TJ, I've got Joe Pollock out of the way, I'll be looking for another mystery guest. But we've got a lot to talk about this week, folks. We've got Money in the Bank, we've got Heat Wave, we've got SmackDown, we've got Raw, leading up to SummerSlam, it seems like, as well as if we talk about AEW, it seems as though the Grammar Troll is here. We should probably talk about AEW just a smidge, considering all the work that Joe does for the Jobber Knocker here, folks. So I don't think Joe will be as mean to me as others, but if he is mean, then you know what? That's okay.
What I just heard from you, Nestle, was pity AEW talk, and I don't know if I'm down with that.
Well, I'll be honest with you, Joe. It's very hard to watch as a fan. I want them to succeed. We've talked about this every single week. I just think I can watch the entire Dynamite in 20 minutes, and I refuse to watch Collision or Rampage. So there it is.
Well, I'm with you on the Rampage, but let's get to the pay-per-views this week, and we are starting on Saturday. Surprised they did this backwards, but they did this with the WWE main roster first. We have the men's Money in the Bank. We have Drew McIntyre taking the suitcase for the time being.
Yes, that's right. He won the Money in the Bank briefcase at 16 minutes, 30 seconds on the dot. For anybody out there that thought that Drew McIntyre wasn't winning, you are an idiot. You are an absolute moron. I'm looking at this right here, and I'm thinking to myself, let's think about this very quickly, right? Mm-hmm. You've had 6 people in this. You're going to tell me that Andrade was going to win? No.
You're not.
Chad Gable deserves to be in the Intercontinental title race. Not going to happen. Jey Uso and LA Knight are the exact same person on different shows. Their entrances and promos, and then the ring, they can't fucking deliver. So that's that. So the only
a little bit louder for the people in the back.
The only other person in that entire thing was Carmelo Hayes. He's too young. He'll have too many reasons to try later in his life. He's got too many things. Drew McIntyre was the only one. For anybody complaining about the fact that they just ruined the Money in the Bank briefcase the same night, if you look at it from this perspective, Cody Rhodes is probably not going to lose the championship anytime soon. If he does, it's going to either one of 2 Samoans, maybe 3 Samoans. It'll be Solo, Roman, or The Rock. That are the only people that I can see dethroning anywhere of Cody Rhodes. And on the other flip side, it's Gunther for the rest of the year, folks. Gunther, once he wins at SummerSlam, will not lose. So cashing in on either of these champions makes 0 sense. And you know what the best storyline of anything in the WWE right now is? It's CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. Honest to fucking God, it is. And you know what? It fed the storyline. I thought it was great. It is what it is. So I actually enjoyed this match. I thought they did a good job. I'm curious what you thought, Joe.
I thought the women brought it more for their Money in the Bank. We'll get to that. The Carmelo Hayes spot going through the ladder with Andrade. Please don't ever try to do that again, Christian Casanova. We love you too much to try to ever do that again. And yes, you will always be Christian Casanova in my heart.
I will say Chad Gable was the MVP of this matchup for me. I thought the over-the-head suplex that he had on LA Knight through the ladder or on the ladder to the outside was fantastic. Him suplexing a ladder onto Andrade's head, fantastic. There's a lot of good stuff on here. But like I said, McIntyre or bust, it was the only thing that made sense. So it is what it is. And that's a hot way to start the show. People love it. Was step 1 to a 3-part plan. He was a goon for saying he was going to cash in the same night, letting CM Punk know what he was going to do. So clearly there we go.
It was along the John Cena plan back in the day of him saying that I'm going to cash this in. No,
Yeah.
keep it a secret. There's a game plan here, and he just went right past go and did not collect $200.
Now, moving on, we have this champion of the Intercontinental title, Sile. Sami Zayn defeats Braun Breaker in 13 minutes and 15 seconds. Now, look, some people had Breaker. Most people had Breaker penciled in, folks. Didn't really happen here. He is a young stud, but I will say Sami Zayn, this is the one thing that bothered me about this entire thing, and I was going to come on with a giant rant about this, but they fixed it on Monday, so I don't have to. But Sami Zayn is no longer the underdog. He just isn't. He's beaten Gunther. He's beaten Braun Breaker. He beats all these guys. For them to continue to call him the underdog, it just doesn't fit his character anymore. So I was beside myself when he won. I think that it's fine that he did, but I just feel like we're in limbo with Sami Zayn going forward. I don't know how you feel, Joe, but I thought like Breaker has a lot of great things that he can do, but I still like he's clearly, that jump off the apron is fantastic to watch, but I feel like over time it's going to be a bad idea. He'll probably end up injuring himself, whether it's a bad wheel, a bad knee, or a hip. I just feel like eventually one of them is going to train wreck on the apron curtain, the skirt itself, slip and train wreck.
So, newsflash, I'm not an NXT person on any stretch of the imagination, so I honestly don't know all that much about Braun Breaker. Yes, do I wish he was Braun Steiner? Yes, I do. Do we have too many Brauns in WWE? Yes, we do.
We can never have enough.
However, I have to say that I was impressed, and I'm not an easy person to impress when it comes to WWE. He brought it. I feel like the whole King of the Underground, the underdog persona of Sami Zayn, it's called back to his NXT days. Sorry, people, that was 8 years ago. We've got to move on with that. We've got to present Sami Zayn as the champion that he is. I do feel like this was almost a training course for Braun Breaker. I do believe that he will face Sami Zayn once again for the IC at SummerSlam. And honestly, at this time, I can see him finally defeating Zayn and getting that IC belt. Is it a little bit quick? Yeah, it is, but we've certainly done that before with other people, and I think Breaker has not only the pedigree, but he's shown that he has the goods in the ring.
Well said. Our boy, the Joe Backcracker. There's too many Joes in my life, honest to God. Does the pecking order go Sammy, Gable, Breaker for the title? No, I don't believe so. I don't think Gable's anywhere near that Intercontinental title for the next 6 months. It sucks, but I think it's probably going to be either Breaker or Dragunov, it looks like, based on what we saw on Monday.
Yeah, they may. I was going to get to that, but yeah, they may do a 3-way dance for that. But if that's the case, then I do see Breaker either pinning Dragunov or Sami Zayn for the belt.
I agree. I think Gable right now is dealing with the Wyatt 6 and other things, so it feels like he is kind of on his own. He does. Honestly, it's weird. I think, like we talked about a couple weeks ago, if they're not going to give him the Intercontinental title right now, it's probably not going to happen ever, or just for a while, it feels like. So I feel like we'll probably get it once he gets the Creeds and Ivy Nile with him. I think that's probably better once we've got that under. But honestly, I think like there's a time where I'm looking at this from a perspective of maybe, just maybe, he's at a point where he may not need a title, which I find bizarre in my brain. But I think he's getting to a point where his character is so good, I don't know if he needs it.
Has Chad Gable ever needed a belt? I feel like he's one of those guys that, okay, when he was coming up through NXT, being a tag champion was certainly his sweet spot. He did a lot of great tag work, of course, with Jason Jordan when he came up. I don't feel like he needs a tag belt or any sort of singles belt anytime soon. Like you said, that character is there.
All right. Well, moving on. Let's go to the next bit here. Let's see. We've got, of course, Damian Priest versus Seth freaking Rollins, 14 minutes and 40 seconds. Of course, it was cashed in as Drew McIntyre, and Damian Priest retains. Now, there's a lot connecting people. Aloha. I love it. Connecting people through wrestling. What's up?
Aloha.
See their signs everywhere at every event. So love to see anybody helping out wrestling in general. So they're awesome. Check them out if you haven't. So here's the thing about the Damian Priest thing. We can talk about this. I think the backcracker said this here says Jesus, that botch pin was more exciting than the first start of the show, which You can say what you want about it. I would be under the impression of, look, I've been a part of, and I've unfortunately seen the backstage nonsense of when something goes awry, and it's heated and it's bad and it's awful. I think Priest didn't kick out in time. Maybe he got a little shook off a knee there, or something was happening with the music. None of us will really know what happened. And yeah, it sucks because it kind of devalues, or people will only point to that in his title reign of him fucking up or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think what a lot of people need to realize is, like, shit happens, right? Like, yes, you say it's a mistake. It happened. I wouldn't consider it a botch, because it's like he got knocked out. It's part of life. A botch is like, to me, like, you slip and you fall. That was
the old JT Smith "you fucked up" scene over in ECW back in the day.
Right.
Botches,
So it sucked that it happened. And then I thought about it from a logical standpoint. Like, let's just think about this logically. The referee had no choice, right? In my opinion, the referee had no choice, because here's what you do, right? If you don't do what they did, right? Like, if you take away all that and you go, okay, like, we'll just say that Seth Rollins won. Well, then that means that when Drew McIntyre comes to cash in, it's a one-on-one match. CM Punk's interference is a DQ. So it doesn't make any fucking sense at all. So you had to keep that a triple threat match in order for CM Punk's interference to happen, so that they could just do whatever the fuck they wanted. Now, the end result of this is Damian Priest goes away. I think they did a fantastic way on Monday. We'll talk more about it, maybe about how they kind of put a bow on it and then just said, okay, let's move on. But CM Punk now has a problem with McIntyre and a problem with Rollins, which I find fascinating, that they've found a way to continue to weave this web in a way that has nothing to do with the title. It's a personal vendetta. And it's, to me, one of the most interesting things about this thing going forward for the summer and going on probably to WrestleMania.
So the look on Damian Priest's face when the match was over, when he had retained, I think that's the sort of look that all of us watching that match had on our faces. It's just, it happened, and like you said, Nestle, it's not a botch, but it does take you out of the moment. And I feel that he was in the position where he needed to make his moment as a champion. And El Campeon, I think I'm getting that right. Spanish is not my strong point, but if I'm not wrong, then I'm right. He needed to make his moment. And considering that I don't think he's going to be champion after SummerSlam, I do feel we're seeing multiple titles change hands at SummerSlam. This was his last chance to really make that indentation on the title.
Overall, we have our friend Danny Grimwood. He is constantly telling us how he is probably the worst champion he's ever seen. He's the worst world heavyweight champion. Now, he is a Seth honk. That's fine. And a Drew honk. So I'm curious, as you're watching this, does he fit your bill?
He's dominating. He has mic presence. I don't know about the promo capabilities, but he has presence on the microphone. Without the Judgment Day, I just don't see it. I'm not on the hatred level that one end is when it comes to Damian Priest, but I feel there are different avenues that they could have gone down to take the belt off of Seth.
I tend to agree. I just think it's hard because, you have your people like Seth Rollins and Gunther that'll make that championship mean something. Unfortunately, there are ebb and flows to this title reign, and it's, starting from scratch in terms of its lineage and the whole thing. So it is rough. But our boy, the Backcracker, says, I think in the moment it was frustrating to watch, but stepping back and looking at the present and future, storytelling is tremendous. Now, I tend to agree to look on it from the bright side of life of Brian there. I can't whistle right now. Thank you.
I can't whistle either.
That was pretty good considering I couldn't do it. You're carrying me already, and we're only 15 minutes in the program. So look, I'll say this much. It bothered me. Like, I felt bad for him because I feel like we all criticize him, right? Like, we all say like he's not doing enough. So when you do something like that, like, you automatically point to it. But then I thought to myself, like, I've been in that situation where I've screwed up, and you're just like, this sucks. Cause like, there's nothing you can do about it. Some people get their bell rung and you have to continue, and you're just not with it. I mean, it is what it is. Concussions are real and they hurt.
They do.
Or, I mean, I'm not preaching to the choir here, of course, when it comes to concussions and CTE, we joke about it, but it's a legit thing. Moving on, we have Tiffany Stratton winning the Money in the Bank ladder match for the women's championship contract against Chelsea, Io Sky, Lyra Valkyria, Naomi, and Zoe Stark. Retrieving that briefcase is very, very difficult. It was Tiffy time, folks. It was
Tiffy time.
So,
and I need to give my props to all 6 women in this match. They absolutely brought it. Chelsea Green. I will never say that name in a derisive tone ever again after the bump she took off the top of that ladder. That takes guts. It takes professionalism to know how to get through that ladder and not absolutely break yourself in half. And she's a pro. I have to give her all the credit in the world for it. She was the standout in that match. It makes all the sense in the world to put that suitcase on Tiffany Stratton because she's got the connection with Nia Jax now. So she has that, I guess you could say, powerhouse at her backside for that.
Powerhouse at your backside. I'm like 5 years old. You said powerhouse at the backside. I can't help myself. It is what it is.
It's there. It needs to be addressed. So you have Nia Jax at her side. You have the suitcase, which obviously she can cash in at any time. And I hope she actually does hang on to this a little bit more, as you'll find with the Drew McIntyre cash in. The quick cash ins just don't have that same panache. They don't. You need to build a little bit more drama with that. And I think she's definitely the right person to build the drama with that.
I was watching this matchup thinking to myself, this is the most unsafe thing I've ever seen in my life. And it was just a fucking car wreck. Zoe Stark did that jumping thing off the middle rope to the inside on the top of the, like, domed her head. And I was just like, what the fuck is going on right now? I don't understand how unsafe this is. And like, then the other side is like, okay, you got the ha-has and all that shit. But with Chelsea doing the whole thing, and then she's with that major bump at the end. And but it was just like, it was sloppy. And I know if JC was here, he'd say, this ain't ballet, Adam, which I get. But it's
Adam?
Yeah, exactly. Who the fuck is Adam? But it's hard for me because our boy Guthrie put this out, and I'm curious because there's people in the chat as well that are wrestling fans that watch Money in the Bank, as well as you and I, Joe. Someone said, this is the best women's Money in the Bank match ever. And I was like, I'll reserve my thoughts for this discussion for Tuesday. We're here.
I can second that motion. I'll go Smokey Robinson. I second that emotion because obviously you have Carmella's spot with James Ellsworth. Are you really going to place that above Tiffany Stratton taking that suitcase after that bump from Chelsea? No, you're not going to. After everything the women put themselves through in that match, no, this is the greatest women's Money in the Bank match.
See, I can be talked into it because of the kaboom at the end. I thought the kaboom at the end was great. I think the thing is my heart wanted Chelsea to win so badly, so I think this was like a showcase for her. But it was scary, and I'll remember it for being scary, which in part makes sense. And like, our boy, the backcracker says here, hats off to them for wanting to put on a show, but some of it was damn bit scary. I agree that it was scary, but is it the best women? I'm just trying to think. Is it? I'm going to say no, because when I was watching this, the unsafeness of it made me feel like this is stupid. Like we're doing things that make no fucking sense. Like these women are trying to kill each other, which I understand they're doing the best they can. And it was a good match. I'm not saying it wasn't a good match. For me, I'm just not sold on it. I don't think there's it can't be like, oh, I don't know the match that is number one in my head off the top, but like there's something about this that made me feel like I just don't think the safety of it all was just, I don't know. I'm just not a big deal with it. Like, it's just, I think for me to think it was the best, and this is selfish, I'm sure. For me to think this is the best one to ever happen, I would have wanted Chelsea to win. I know that's stupid, but I think Chelsea would have been like the whole fucking like, holy shit. Like that would have brought me to the roller coaster. And at the end of the roller coaster, it would have been like, let's fucking go again. But it didn't happen.
I say that this is the ramblings of a man who did not get a check on that prediction.
Oh, I don't care about winning on that one. Nah, that doesn't matter to me. I voted with my heart on that one. It is what it is. But it's hard. It's really hard. And then what does he say here? A few years back, a double cage with Rio was a banger.
This is true. Now, this would obviously, I'm going to second that from Doc because he's actually seen that match. And when it comes to NXT, I generally will not see their matches. However, you did pick me this weekend to be a guest host, and I will try to be the best host that I can be because North American Men's Championship, Obafemi versus Wes Lee. And we have basically a squash. Obafemi, big fucking unit. The man, the myth, the legend continues. I guess he's a legend. I don't know. I don't watch NXT.
So before we get to NXT Heatwave very quickly, we still have one more match with the Bloodline.
Yes, we do. I was trying to surpass that.
No, I'm not going to surpass that at all. I'm sorry. Not going to fucking happen on my watch. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it real quick here. The Bloodline defeats Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, and Randy Orton, 24 minutes, 40 seconds. It was the longest match of the night. I'm glad Solo won. I'll put it that way. He needed it. I will say there's one thing that really, there are two things that were a takeaway from this. Jacob Fatu across the board was a stud, amazingly done, absolutely fantastic. The part where Randy Orton gave him the DDT and then he sat right back up and Randy had to look up at him. I'm like, that reaction, that whole sequence made Jacob Fatu in that one moment. That was
a star. Good. He is a star, and Randy I'm glad
Orton.
that WWE took the gamble with him.
The other thing, too, is everybody gives shit to Tonga Loa about the nut shot, but he was fucking concussed on the table like 10 minutes before. If you've been concussed, you're not the same. So lay off this fucking guy. He'll make plenty of more mistakes, but this was not his fucking fault on this one. The fact that he's even standing is an incredible feat of how strong and tough this dude is. So let's just give him a break. The one thing that really fucking bothered me, it irked me. And again, this is me being nitpicky Nestle here. So there's the ref bump, right? And I'm watching the ref bump and I go, okay, fine. And he falls down. And then like the referee's back up. And then there's a train wreck with Jacob Fatu into the stairs. And I'm like, okay, double ref bump on the same referee. Clearly,
he's a Canadian wrestler.
And I'm like, clearly we're going to get a new referee, right? No. So wait a minute. You're going to tell me the guy who takes two ref bumps, Joe, makes his way back in the ring? I call bullshit. On that.
He's a Canadian referee. They're in Toronto. They have to have Canadian representation in every single match or else they're not allowed in Canada. Canadian referees do Canadian referee things. The man's a stud.
I call bullshit on that. His blood is not maple syrup. Okay? He's not. So it's bullshit. Anyway.
Well, no, it's poutine.
Okay. On that note, I'm going to move on because poutine is the best we can do. So overall, is it Money in the Bank or meh, Knee in the Bank for you?
I'm gonna give this aside from the main event, which I just did not vibe with whatsoever. I'm going to give this a strong double thumbs up for Money in the Bank.
I was severely disappointed with this entire pay-per-view.
Really?
There was something about it. I mean, if I go very quickly, the Drew McIntyre thing was good. I like that. Sami and Braun was not the result I wanted. Damian Priest was just a weird match in general. And of course, the fuck up made it worse. But then the aftermath made up for it, which I loved. That match with the women's match, I was feeling very odd about. And the Bloodline thing was just kind of what it was. So for me, it's like a 5 out of 10. It wasn't like the worst pay-per-view ever. But I think going forward, they've had so many great things, leading up to this. They're allowed to have kind of a clunker or just a meh pay-per-view for me. We've got SummerSlam. We've got Berlin coming up. We've got all these others coming up. So for me, I'm looking at it from a perspective of they're allowed some ebb and flow here. It was still decent, but I'm not like everybody's enamored with it. I think Heatwave, in my opinion, was better. So
I will second that emotion as well. I'm going to give Money in the Bank probably a 6.5 to a 7. So that gets a little bit more positivity out of me. Considering that I'm not a regular viewer of WWE programming, I was impressed.
Well, let's move on to something that's actually impressive. You did talk about a fucking unit, of course, as Obafemi beats Wesley as the flying pizza spot is the only thing that's going to be burned into my brain because that was fucking amazing. Anybody that can get tossed around like a pizza. Wesley is a fantastic wrestler, fantastic human being. I want to see
He's
him
a little rascal.
I will always be a Wesley fan.
Yes.
But Obafemi is just one of one. I mean, when you look at that guy and you're like, he's had how many matches? Maybe 25.
Like if even that, there's some people just naturally gravitate towards the ring. I think Breaker might possibly be an example of this, and the fact that you've got in back-to-back generations of NXT a guy like Breaker coming through, a guy like Obafemi coming through, no previous indie experience whatsoever. It does give you it gives you a really strong look at the talent that they have coaching these guys as well, and ladies as well.
My thought is, who beats this guy? Does he just go undefeated and then just drop the title and go to the main roster like they did with Asuka? I don't know.
It's Asuka treatment. I don't see anybody beating him anytime soon. They may have a couple giants in development that are ready to get on the roster, but I can't see anybody at looking at the NXT roster, as little as I know of it, being able to compete with him right now. That's just not going to happen.
I would do JC no justice if I didn't say this to you. If you're not watching on if you're not watching on Tuesday nights or listening or reading or looking at any tweets or write-ups from TJ, you should do something, because honestly, it's the most fun 2 hours of wrestling you will watch. I swear.
I do need to read more Tej. I need more Tej in my life, and I'm glad that he's back on the scene for us.
I will say this much. HBK is a fantastic creative mind, and he makes everything count. So I really enjoy NXT in general. Moving on to the second part, we have Kalani Jordan and Sol Ruka. Now, look, I saw most of this. I thought this was fantastic. I'll say this much. A lot of people played the Meltzer clip, which I thought was hilarious, saying that this was too acrobatic. And I just thought, like, coming from the same guy that said Ospreay and Ricochet was one of the best matches ever, pop me the pedal. Yes. It's a tough look. It's a tough look, but I'll say this much. Again, these women, not from the background of wrestling. And you watch that match and you're like, wow. Like, that
I could be wrong, but does Kalani Jordan have a background in gymnastics?
I think she's a track star.
I have to say, I was genuinely impressed by her when she was the inaugural North American Women's Champion, not having any knowledge of her whatsoever. I'm like, we're really going to go this route with somebody who's seemingly fresh out the gate. She really impressed. Sol Ruka, yeah, you were looking for that soul snatcher finisher. It just could not go down that night. Kalani Jordan's the right person to pick up the win, pick up the retain on that.
I am curious because they're very fresh. They're very new. They're probably going to spend the next 2 years. Sol Ruka, when I watch her, says star right away. Like, there's just something star quality it factor with Sol Ruka. I don't have to like her to know that. Kalani looks like she could be something special. I just got to see more of her. So I don't know. I mean, like, they crank out this factory of just studs, women and men. So it's hard to keep track. I will say, for me as an NXT watcher, some of the names are very forgettable. Like,
it's the generator. There's nothing we can do about that. There will never have a WWE generated name with more than 4 syllables.
Mm-hmm. Did we lose you?
It is what it is.
Okay. For a second, it seems like your internet might be slightly erupt. Okay. So anyway, moving on, we have Nathan Frazier and Axiom, the Math Twins, taking on Chase University. Now, look, there was a couple of good, crazy match points in here. I think the Math Brothers are fine. I'm not a huge fan of this tag team, nor the tag team division in NXT. This was a lull for me, but it was still fun. I was like, this is crazy spot fest. I'm cool with it. So it woke me up from a boredom nap, but I don't know. I'm not into this tag team division. I think this is the worst tag team division I've seen in NXT's history. So they don't have any depth. So I'm curious to see how they're going to rectify that. If there's one Achilles heel, I think it's this.
So you have the Vink, And we love the Vink here, Jobberknocker. Yes, does he have to go by a more WWE eyes name of Duke Hudson? You get what you get. However, it was nice to see him in this match. Ben Carter, or the artist previously known as Ben Carter over in AEW. He's done some great work as Frazier. A-Kid, what more can you say about him? The guy is an absolute flippy dippy in the ring, but the two of them worked very well together. You're right about the lack of tag teams in NXT, and it's really sad because coming up as NXT was created, you lived for that tag division. You live for those dominant teams, and right now you're just not seeing that. It's not that Fraxium, as I've labeled them, can't be. I don't think they can be.
All right, moving on. We have Roxanne Perez defeats Lola Vice. I'm not going to get up and shake my hips because JC will be very upset because he's the hip shaker in this group. But this was a great match. I was shocked that Lola didn't win because I was thinking to myself, what more can Roxanne Perez do? She's done pretty much everything. And this was a hell of a match, but what do you do?
You're still waiting for Julia to come over from Japan. So apparently they're going to feed her to Roxanne and give her the rocket right off the top. I did like this match. Some of the dancing from Lola Vice, I could frankly do without if you're trying to present her as a badass. If you're trying to present her as a badass, Adam.
Who the fuck is Adam?
I believe in Joe Hendry. Anyway, if you're trying to present her as the badass, as you're trying to present her as the next possible Ronda Rousey, which she could possibly be, you just can't do it. And this was a perfect opportunity. You had the story of her mother being in poor health, doing it for her mama. This could have been a great chance for her to shed that once and for, at least for this match, and just go, okay, playtime's over. I'm going to kick your fucking ass. And it just didn't quite happen that way. The way that the match was progressing. I even though I did pick Lola Vice, cult of personality, everybody was. I think Roxanne Perez is the right person to hold this title until Julia gets here and shows the world what she's made of.
I don't know. It's a tough look across the board. And we get to the main event, which is a 4-way as Ethan Page defeats Trick Williams, Javon Evans, and Sean Spears. Now, look, the ending of this matchup, folks. Classic. Loved it. The fact that Ethan Page won by an oopsie daisy. It was the Backlash pay-per-view way back with John Cena and HBK and Edge and Orton, I believe. It was the super kick that Cena landed back on Orton and counted the 3. This was the same kind of feeling. And I went, this was great. This was outstanding. And then to me, Joe, this was the part that I really got excited for, which was Ethan Page is a stud. We know that he's just kind of like tailor-made to do something. I don't know. It is weird. Oh, by the way, just so we can say this, our boy Bertsky sneaks in, says that Kalani Jordan, #1 fan account over here, saying I can confirm she has a gymnast background. So there you go. I thought it was a track and field one. So thank you for clarifying there, Bertsky. But look, I'll say this much. Ethan Page winning does a lot of things for NXT. Do I think Trick Williams is a star? Absolutely. I'm not a huge fan of him, but you can't deny that he's got a great fucking entrance. He'll be all right. He's got the whoop that trick. He's got a swagger. He's fine. Ethan Page can do more in the ring. He's a good wrestler. Sean Spears is a player coach. And Evans is out of his mind when he's in the ring there.
Very impressive. Full Indy Hartwell, very impressive.
Sorry, full Indy Hartwell. I lost my train of thought. But anyway, so then my thought here is what I'm more interested in is they show the shot of, him smiling with the NXT title, then it goes white, and then all of a sudden you say his name, boom, boom, and he appears and smiles, and that's the end of the fucking pay-per-view or PLE. And I was just like, oh my God, they're putting Joe Hendry right to the fucking moon. I'm
here for it. A longtime Joe Hendry fan, been a big fan of all the stuff that he's done in Impact, now TNA. And the I don't know how many people you can actually send over from TNA to be a part of NXT, but I'm here for it. I love any chance you have at the possible takeover, brutal takeover of rival wrestling companies. Not that TNA could ever possibly really rival NXT in terms of ratings, but I'm here for it. And the Battle of the Smilings, I'm here for it.
And also on top of that, right? Like you think about it, Trick Williams versus Joe Hendry would make no sense because it would split the crowd. Ethan Page versus Joe Hendry, it's 100% one way.
Yeah.
So it makes perfect sense. And Joe Hendry and Ethan Page probably have a little bit of back and forth being an Impact. So it's just, it'll work itself out in an amazing way. I'm so excited for this. I'm so excited. I'm missing NXT right now, obviously, because of the podcast. So I'll have to read TJ's article tomorrow morning, and watch the clips and stuff. But overall, NXT is a lot of fun. So I'm excited for them. And I'm curious, like you said, you thought this was better than Money in the Bank, yes?
I do believe this was better than Money in the Bank. Unlike Money in the Bank pay-per-view, the main event, I really feel like the main event brought it. All four men just absolute bringing it in that match. Got Joe Hendry at the end. I believe in Joe Hendry. What's wrong with that?
Nothing. Not a damn thing. All right. On that note, we're going to switch over to everything that we do here. Starts in the positive, always in the shine. We're about 30, 40 minutes into this program, so we should probably hustle along so we don't talk too long. Joe, you are our guest. I'll let you be Mr. Positive.
Well, my positivity is coming from the corporation of which I proudly represent, and that would be AEW.
You don't represent jack shit, son. You represent the jobber knocker, not AEW. Just remember that.
Duly noted. Anywho, I am going to start with everybody's favorite scumbag becoming everybody's favorite scumbag once again. We've got MJF right back where he needs to be, and that is just absolutely pissing off the world and smiling in our faces. I need it, I want it, and it's happening. And I'm here for it.
It's like they listen to the jobber knocker, because JC got on here and said MJF needs to be heel, flat out heel. And then what'd you know it? The next day he turned fucking heel. And all I kept thinking to myself was, thank Christ, because Will Ospreay versus MJF is going to sell like fucking hotcakes. So I'm in for that. The lead up to it's going to be fucking outstanding. We're going to have the Jewish kid with ADD or ADHD versus the Brit who's autistic. It's like you want to cheer for both of them, but you know that one's a real dick and one's going to just be the Billy Goat. So it's like, this is going to be such a great styles clash. No pun intended. It's going to be so fucking fun. So I agree with you, Joe. Very positive that MJF is back. He's got the black Burberry, which means he means business.
And also, speaking of people coming back as heels, or maybe not heel, we have the return of one Hangman Adam Page. And I don't quite know what to think of this persona, but I am so glad that he's back. I'm glad that he sent Jeff Jarrett to the retirement home that he so deservingly belongs in. He needs to put 1, 2, 3 on Bryan Danielson tomorrow. He needs to walk into Wembley Stadium, and he needs to take the title from Swerve Strickland.
Wow. So let me ask you this. You believe on paper that Swerve versus Hangman Adam Page is more of a ticket sales kind of thing than Bryan Danielson versus Swerve?
I do, and I also believe that they will hold off on Swerve until All Out over in Chicago 2 weeks later. You need a good main event for that. You need a ticket seller for that. Not that Chicago's going to have difficulty selling tickets, even though it kind of does for Dynamite once in a while. Anyway, they're going to be able to sell out that crowd with Swerve versus Hangman, and I'm here for people finishing their stories properly and not having to wait 2 years.
Wow. Sounds like you just don't like filet mignon. You're more of a fast food eater. Is that what you're saying? It's a lovely shirt. Go buy it at tpublic.com/jobberknocker. That's what I would say about that.
Where you can find all sorts of wonderful varieties.
By the way, you can get hats now, so get your trucker hat if you want. If you so desire a Joestopper, a Grammar Troll t-shirt, or trucker hat. I am a hat snob, so I will not be participating in any of those hats. But that's beside the point. It's pretty cool. So anything else that's positive on your end? That's not AEW, by the way. Get on the fucking train here.
So I do have a WWE positivity. Dominic Mysterio finally pins his father. I might not like this whole storyline between him and Liv Morgan. More with that to come.
Oh my goodness.
But he gets to beat Daddy. He gets to beat Daddy. It's wonderful. It's amazing. It maybe should have happened 2 years ago, but hey, I'm still here for it.
There's so many things wrong with that statement. I don't know where to start. I'm looking at it from a perspective of, yes, he beat his dad. Fantastic. But here's the thing. If I was Dominic Mysterio, yes, Rhea Ripley is a very big deal. Probably one of the best movers and shakers in WWE. You don't want to upset her. She's mommy and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But under mommy's tutelage, Dominic never beat his dad. Liv Morgan helps him stretch his groin muscle, and he beats his dad. I'm just saying.
Well, she was a serial stretcher last evening with not only Dominic, but apparently in the main event. Not that I could stay awake for that, but apparently she stretched Ray as well.
Anywho, we're gonna get past that. Listen, I think you're wrong about so many things on that, because I feel like some of this stuff is some of the funniest shit I've ever seen. The fucking part where they're stretching and then they stand up and Priest says it's not that hard, and Carlito goes, "Well, it looks pretty hard to me," and they're like, "Shut the fuck up." I almost spit out my fucking water when I was watching it. I was like, "That's great fucking TV right there." Carlito has taken the Sami Zayn book and gone, "Yep, I'm running that fucking play." It's outstanding. Triple H has found the fucking formula to factions. I swear to God. It's like when a faction's bad, interject some comedy right into my arm. You get a 6-month advance on it. It makes super sense to me. It should be studied how they take care of their factions in WWE, because what they are doing with factions across the board is amazing to me. And as much as I'm not a huge fan of the Judgment Day, I am finding myself cackling at the fucking Carlitos and the Dominics and the Liv Morgans, sometimes Priest, but even JD with Braun is funny to me. Like, it's awesome. So I think you're wrong with the whole Judgment Day stuff. I can't believe I'm defending the Judgment Day on this program, because usually my counterpart is usually telling me I'm wrong about everything. So here I am.
Yes, about 75 to 80% of the time, you most absolutely are. I will give you credit for that, because I'm more than 80% wrong. So I am just about all shined out. Do you have anything for shining?
You're all shined out? That's the only shine you could bring about this week? Are you out of your goddamn mind?
Well, a lot of the shine already went to this last weekend.
This is rough. Anyway, I'll do some quick shines. I'm gonna go through SmackDown very quickly, because it's a moot point at this point. Whatever it is, what it is. Pretty Deadly had a fucking match. Great job. Love my boys. They fucking lose anyway. It is what it is. Hey, we didn't even fucking, you buried the lead, Joe. Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa. I'm gonna put him in the shine. You want to know why? Because the tag team titles will be fucking used on SmackDown. That's what I'm doing right now. It was a great fucking match.
I actually was going to have in my heat the sad state of the SmackDown tag division, knowing that Tommaso Ciampa is a champion once again.
Well, you have a previous bias. That's fine. That's fine. I'm not a huge fan of Johnny Gargano. I'm not a huge fan of Tommaso Ciampa. They're a good tag team. I feel bad for Waller and Theory, because I feel like they didn't get their shit. But when I saw the Shatter Machine, my heart got warm. When I saw the fucking double tap, I was like, cool, this is great. I wish it had waited a little bit till SummerSlam. I really do. They must have something planned for Johnny in Cleveland, and that's fine. But
yeah,
it was a big moment. It was a nice send-off. I thought it was great.
It would have made a little bit more sense to have that pulled off in Cleveland, but like I said, with the state of the tag division and SmackDown, you really had nobody to go up against A-Town Down Under.
And finally, the thing that I actually really enjoyed before we talked about it was, the Bloodline stuff, was the promo where it was, he's basically got the lay and he's the tribal chief, and Roman can come take it away from me if he wants. I just thought it was a well-produced promo. It made Solo look great. They're not letting Jacob talk because that's fucking smart. Because the minute Jacob starts fucking running his mouth, you're all going to be like boned up, wet, ready to rock. Like it is going to be, it's going to be tough. When when MLW, I've watched a lot of his promos. When he goes, I'm going to walk you like a dog. Every time he says it in the promo, I can't do it justice. But when he fucking lays in that line, I'm going to walk you like a dog. I was just like, this guy is somebody that if I saw on the side of the street, I'd fucking cross the street, even if there wasn't a fucking crosswalk. Like, so like he means business. So there's something about Jacob Fatu that I was great, but that whole producing like mafioso kind of feeling I'm in on. And I feel like they're finally kicking into gear with the bloodline. It was such a disaster, but they've somehow fumbled the right way into the end zone with it. And I'm curious because the minute that we have the bloodline 2.0 versus the original bloodline, whether it's Sammy or something else, I am going to be interested in it because I feel like Roman Reigns is then going to make 4 new people, which is an incredible feat in its own. Not like John Cena has said in an interview, Joe, when it's John Cena versus somebody, it's my job to just make that person look good. And then they move on. Roman Reigns has found a way to have anybody in his orbit look better, which is an incredible feat in itself.
Yeah. I mean, you had Sami Zayn coming in fresh off the electric chair gimmick, and he inserted just the right amount of comedy, and Roman made him the superstar that he is right now. He definitely has that capability. I don't know if he can do it with Timu Robin. Okay. I just and that's the way I look at Solo Sikoa. He's just the wish list Roman Reigns. You want to see him do better. I think they just gave him that mantle a little bit too quickly. Seeing him with delay, it rings hollow. Honestly, I feel that you could have done that for Jacob.
You think Jacob Fatu would be the leader of the tribal chief, is what you're saying?
I think he could have been, yes. If they had pulled the trigger on him earlier, yes, they were in a lawsuit with MLW. That probably would have made it a little bit weird to do so. But if they had pulled the trigger with him maybe even a year ago, that's the man that could have been carrying that lay.
I don't think there's any logic because nobody knows who he is. Then I think that's the hardest part. You can't give the mantle, the leadership to somebody that nobody knows because it's going to take a longer time to build him. It's going to take a lot. They've already invested in Solo for the last 2-3 years with NXT and then what he's got on the main roster. So to me, he's the only one. The other
to the casual wrestling fan, perhaps, but think of how many people are marking out already to Jacob Fatu. The way that he stood up after that draping DDT to Randy Orton, that is a moment maker.
Yeah, but they're not gonna cater to the casual wrestling fan, are they? Yes, they do. That's their gimmick. That's what they do, man. It's about
and the casuals are already catching on to Jacob, and he's only been in WWE for a month.
Well, you have a hard on for him, and that's fine. Like it is what it is. They unfortunately have to go with Sikoa because it's the most logical. He's a Rikishi kid. It is what it is.
Yeah, what are you gonna go with, Jimmy?
No,
who they won't even allow into Canada.
Well, yeah, they couldn't allow a lot of people into Canada. It is what it is. Anyway, I'm going to get it more positive on this. Punk and Seth Rollins. To me, the consequences part of this promo, to me, made it fantastic. And I'll say why I think it's great. Punk comes out, does his business, talks about consequences, the whole thing. Seth Rollins comes out, talks about the consequences of him getting involved in his matchup. He tries to apologize. CM Punk says, but it's you, which he takes it back immediately. All I kept thinking to myself was, he said one line in here, him being Rollins, Joe. This is where if I was booking it, right? Like, this is what I would think. CM Punk's finally going to get cleared. He's going to go against Drew McIntyre, and Drew McIntyre is going to win with the help of Seth Rollins right away. And we're off to the races with Seth Rollins and CM Punk because they're going to milk as much as they possibly can going forward with that because you can always go back to Drew McIntyre losing championships over and over and over again, but CM Punk going to get screwed by multiple people going forward. It's going to be great.
So I need heel Punk. And sadly, because they're just about to turn Rollins heel once again, he's the big show of the late 21st century. You can't keep on going back and forth with Seth Rollins. You've given him this singing gimmick for a little bit over a year right now. It's caught on. Punk is acting like an absolute dick, which, I mean, is his persona, but you can turn him heel, and they just won't do it. Frankly, with the Drew McIntyre feud, he's been the heel. He's been the antagonist. Has Drew been reactionary? Certainly. Is Rollins going to be reactionary? Certainly. He's going to turn heel. But you could do the same thing with CM Punk. I mean, the merchandise is going to sell regardless of whether he's a babyface or a heel.
Yeah, but Punk's reactionary. Drew is the one doing it. Like, Drew's the mean guy. Then all of this of like, he tore his pec. He was like, I prayed for this. So it's like, yeah, Punk's a vindictive person, but if you come push to shove and you push me, I'm going to push back harder. Like, my dad always told me, you know, you don't get even, Adam, you get better than even. So Punk's getting better than even. So, I mean, like, I tend to agree with CM Punk, and I'm a Phil Brooks guy. I'm not a CM Punk guy, but it's,
I would classify myself as that as well. I'm admittedly a little bit burned from the way that he treated people in All Elite Wrestling. I don't think there was any call for it whatsoever. I do look at him as the antagonist throughout the whole entire Elite thing. And yeah, it's great that they can do a heel persona from it right now, the Elite being the Elite. And I'm a little bit burned on CM Punk. I am a Phil Brooks person.
You have a warped sense of reality, don't you?
I have a warped sense of everything, Adam.
Who the fuck is Adam? I'll say this much. I think you and my brother would get along swimmingly when it comes to AEW. So good for you guys that you can enjoy your Wednesdays, your Fridays, and your Saturdays.
We can enjoy good wrestling.
That's fine.
What we can enjoy.
It's fine. I just think that you guys, my head will explode if I had to continue to watch that show and listen to you guys spew your nonsense about how fucking wonderful it is. Anyway, let's get to the rest of the positivity. Then we got a lot to get through. So I'm gonna power through here. We've got the fucking excitingness of the Wyatt 6 with the videotape. It is a thing. I was excited to see Bo in the fucking back with Pierce. That was interesting to me. We'll talk more about that in a little bit, I think, in the hope for me.
Yeah.
But it's exciting there, and I'm interested to see what we do with it. Let's see what else we've got here. I was excited for Sheamus and the whole Butch and / Pete Dunne thing, because I was like, hey, a storyline I forgot that's a C or D storyline, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't think I've ever seen Pete Dunne versus Sheamus, and like,
if anybody can carry a C feud, it is Sheamus.
You just don't like Sheamus, do you?
He's a walking jar of mayonnaise, Nestlemania.
I'm not seeing a tan on you. I mean, pot me kettle. I'm as clear as Larry Bird, but
taxi arm. That's all I need.
Yeah, right out the window. But I was excited because I was like, hey, something that would have been lost in Vince McMahon's vision is like, they use the little things to continue other stories. And I'm like, this is great. We were going to get the Ludwig stuff, and then that fucking fell apart. So the Butch / the Celtic Warrior stuff, I'm in for it. I thought it was interesting because it's continuation of stories. It's continuity. We've been so long been beaten over the head and clubbed over the head of like, pay no attention to this shit over here. We're starting over here, and we're not going to give you an explanation. And now it's refreshing to me to be like, hey, that thing that happened, we're calling it back. I love that shit. I think that that's wonderful because you're not insulting my intelligence as a viewer. Therefore, you get me to stick around for a little bit longer and enjoy it a little bit longer.
It's great when a content creator can actually listen to his writers.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's absolutely refreshing.
Yeah, it's great. It's wonderful. We've talked about the Judgment things ad nauseum, of course, yada, yada, yada. Let's see. We've talked about Punk not being there next week. It's a whole thing, the stretching, the nonsense. Yeah. I think I'm good. I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but would you like to get heaty, Joseph?
I am here for the heat. So
get him off my TV, get him off my TV, get him off my TV. Go ahead, Joe. I'll let you sprawl.
So you mentioned your boy's Pretty Deadly getting a tag shot on SmackDown. Your boy Kit Wilson needs a Charlie card the way he waits for buses.
Look, I will say this. I think Pretty Deadly is one of the greatest tag teams they've got going on right now. I don't think they're using them to their fullest abilities, so I'm upset that they're not getting shit. I think they deserve to be on Monday Night Raw, personally. I think that they need to be over there where they can get more character development. SmackDown's the wrestling show, or the Cody's Bloodline Gaga saga. So I feel like anybody that's even remotely on SmackDown is going to get eaten up by the Cody universe or the Bloodline universe.
Yeah.
You might as well just make it those two for the whole 2 hours, because it feels like that sometimes anyway. Raw's been way more enjoyable lately for me. And so I'm going to defend Pretty Deadly. I don't care if he's waiting for a bus. So
I love the personas. I really do. WWE has always had a chance to inject a little bit of flamboyance into it. Yes, boy. But I think he also didn't he not just come back from injury, Kit Wilson?
A couple of months ago. Might I ask that you have a bias, perhaps an elite bias, that if this was a tag team, I don't know, maybe showing up on a Saturday, you'd probably, I don't know, enjoy it more?
I've enjoyed the eccentric, perhaps, tag teams back in the day. I'm just not sure if these guys, I think they may need a little bit more seasoning in NXT. A little bit of spice to make the success for nice.
I call poppycock on that, because I say there's no seasoning necessary. They're seasoned. They're delightful. They're pretty. They're deadly. They're a great tag team. I will say, let's move on, Joe. I will not stand for any of this nonsense.
Speaking of nonsense, I do want to give a quick knock to Corey Graves for using the term sandbag and not using the term Charlotte Flair immediately afterwards. I'm not quite remembering exactly when the phrase was dropped, but just to hear that kind of insider term. You said that they only preach to the casual fans. What kind of casual fan knows what a sandbag is? I
mean, sandbag is in the vernacular of the world, bud. Everybody uses sandbag, and you sandbagging son of a bitch. It is a thing. It's a quote in movies, man. Your wife's a moviegoer. I'm sure she's heard sandbag used a bunch in movies.
Well,
shout out
perhaps.
to Red. Give her some love, even though she said I think I was a little too hard on you in the chat here. But that's beside the point. Good wife.
A lifetime of love is what I'm going to give Red. So, speaking of a lifetime, we have a whole year of Thank You, Cena.
So we didn't talk about that.
How is your twin brother doing?
My twin brother?
Well, you and John Cena.
You think John Cena's my twin?
Well, I mean, you might be a little bit emaciated and a little bit less muscle bound and a whole lot more in personality, but yes.
I'm consumed by this and confused at the same time. So
I do that to you.
Let's discuss this, because you don't like the idea of John Cena retiring for a whole year. Are you
not for a whole year?
This man.
I don't like when Bryan Danielson does it for an entire year, so I'm being fair about this. I don't like when Bryan Danielson does it. I don't like it when anybody does it for an entire year. Give us the 6 matches that you're going to be at. Wrap it up in about that much time.
I think you are stuck in 2004 to 2007, and you hate him, and you have some PTSD about it. I think that's what it is, Joseph. I think I
played football against him. I very well might have PTSD against him.
So I will just say, Joseph, that is your government name. I would say that you need to just chill and enjoy 2025, because it's the year of the Cena. You will be able to see him, and then you will not be able to see him ever again. So as somebody that is not a fan of John Cena, I don't understand how you could not be a fan of John Cena, Joseph. I'm using your full name because you know you're in trouble. And so I would tell you this. John Cena having a whole calendar year from January to December, I'm in. I was so excited. And we talked about this, we being me and my boy Dom, our boy Dom, actually, because you're friends with him too, but sorry to exclude you in that. Dom said he got a little emotional when he saw Cena speak, and he thought, like, holy shit, like, I didn't realize the effect that John Cena had on me. And I thought to myself, this is fantastic, because John Cena, for the longest time, and you can go to the John Cena Rivalries documentary on Peacock, and you can see a close-up of a young Adam Nessel, Tony Cerullo, Travis Yakovich, and a young Kenny Nessel booing and I mean, like, full-on close-up, booing the shit out of him, with his dad saying, hey, guys, take off the T-shirts. That's us. We're booing the fuck out of him. Now, granted, you know, you go through life, you see different things, you hear different things, you see the human being. I have an appreciation for John Cena now, so I am past the booing of the man. I will enjoy this next year. I think it's going to be an awesome roller coaster. I hope he gets 17 because that'd be a cool little thing too. I think that's what they'll probably do for Mania season. I hope to Christ that it's not everybody for some reason. I'll have to talk to JC about this next week because he'll be back. I think. I don't know. I'll have to double check on this one. The whole idea of Cody losing to Orton. Orton has the championship, and then it's going to be Orton and Cena at Mania for the championship, which I was just like, I don't know how I feel about Cody Rhodes losing to Randy Orton, nor Randy Orton walking into the championship of WrestleMania. But I mean, Orton versus Cena has to happen one more time. Punk versus Cena. There's so many things that need to happen, Joe. Not just 6 fucking matches. Are you out of your goddamn mind?
It's because I know that he's going to win the belt at Elimination Chamber. It's the most foolproof way that you can justify putting the belt on Cena at that time. There will be a 17. I will be happy for the man. I mean, the man deserves that for longevity, I suppose.
Oh my God.
The reason for my hatred, I like the Nexus. The Nexus was incredible.
Oh, come on.
And one by one, Super Cena just decided, nope, that doesn't work for me, brother, except without the Fu Manchu.
I feel like you and Guthrie just have like a hate for John Cena about the Nexus thing that like, I get it. I was there too. And he did say in an interview, he made the wrong call that night. So he at least acknowledges, no pun intended, his mistake. But I mean, I'll be honest with you, with the exception of Wade Barrett, there weren't really too many stars in the Nexus. I'm just throwing that out there. Just saying. So
Justin Gabriel's still working.
Justin Gabriel's not a fucking star. Sorry. Never will be. Never has been. He's just awful. So
no Skippy Sheffield for you?
No Yip Yip what it do. No. None of them are fucking stars. None of them. Get off my fucking TV with that shit.
No Bryan Danielson?
Bryan Danielson was a star before the Nexus and after the Nexus. He didn't need the Nexus to be a fucking star. So
I would say Wade Barrett didn't need the Nexus to be a star.
Well, we won't know now, will we? Now the core held them down. We can get into that another day, but that's fine. Anything else that's heat worthy that you would like to talk about? Well, I guess, is there anything else John Cena related? Because to me, I'm looking at it from a perspective of great matches that we haven't seen, like a Braun Breaker. Does somebody retire him? Is it Braun Breaker? Is it Randy Orton? Is it Cody? Is like, if you had the book, Joe, who's the last Cena match you see in December?
I'm going to say Cody.
You think Cody's the last one? Okay.
I'm going to say Cody. That Cena gets the belt at Elimination Chamber, and you get Cody versus Cena as one of the main events of WrestleMania.
Well, it doesn't end at Mania, but it goes all the way to December.
Oh, it's going all the way. This is more than a year.
No, it's going from January of this year, 2025 to December of 2020. It's a whole calendar year.
What's the last time is now? I want the last time to be now.
No, it's not starting till January. Hello?
But it started on Saturday.
No, it's not started. He's just telling people, hey, get your tickets for the last year of my life. It's brilliant.
Right, you just rose my octave about 3 levels, and I'm not going to stand for that any longer. Do you have anything else that's heaty?
Okay, move. I'm excited about John Cena, so I'm surprised that you hate John Cena as much as you do. Let's see. I don't really have too much heat here. Let me look, make sure. I don't know how I feel about. I can hear some fucking motorcycles in your neck of the woods. All right.
Through West Boylston, there's a series of motorcycles that come through here. There's a straight shot all the way up from Rhode Island up to New Hampshire. I
wouldn't be Nestle if I didn't bring up Karrion Kross in my heat. This was
you would not be.
And watching him with his long hair and his like non-beard, I was just like, man, now he's got like the baby. You know when like the only reason I can say this is because I got mostly baby face. This is the most I'll ever not shave, by the way. I'm professional. But he had like a baby face shave where like, you know, when someone looks great with a beard and then they shave it off and like their face doesn't look right. It's like that. And then he has the long hair with the fucking ponytail and he's talking about Woods. And I'm just like, I believe the big goons behind me could hurt me. Maybe Paul Ellering would hit me in the nuts. Scarlett would definitely put a voodoo curse on me. But I'm looking at him and I'm like, I don't see it with him. He just doesn't do it for me. And so he does that fucking promo and I'm like,
I'm still reminded of his Killer Cross persona over in Impact, and so that's what refreshes in my mind anytime I hear his voice on WWE programming. Like, there's more this guy can do. There's more than this guy can do. There's more that this guy can do. Will he ever do it? You get the right presentation right now with AOP, with Scarlett, with Paul. If there's going to be any chance for him to do it, it's got to be now.
Okay. All right. Anything else, or would you like to get hopeful, Joseph?
I am more than hopeful because I have props.
Oh, well, get the fuck out of here. He's got props. He's got his own detective hat. His Kangol is back. That's nice. Nice.
Yes, the King of the Kangol is back in action. And I have a question for you, Adam.
Who the fuck is Adam? Mm-hmm.
That's the second question. The first question is, what did Bray Wyatt love more than anything?
I'm going to guess family.
You're absolutely right. And what does Roman Reigns love more than anything?
Family.
Exactly. Now, last week, Bo Dallas talked about false prophets belittling their family for gain. Now, both Jey Uso and Chad Gable have done so, and they've got absolutely nothing to show for it at all. Now, by targeting Chad Gable the way the Wyatt Six have, hopefully, this is my hope here, they're able to convince Jey to reunite with Jimmy to help Roman Reigns take out yet another false prophet in Solo Sikoa.
There you go. Nicely done. I like the detective hat. Since we're here in the hope, I'm going to do two hopes very quickly. One is my real hope, which I can't believe I'm saying this. This is for Guthrie. Hope he's listening so we can have a fucking fist bump. Maybe because JC's not here, I'll take more chances for stinky takes, as he calls them. But I'm going to say I was shocked that Zoe and Shayna now have Sonya Deville as a manager or a third or whatever. And I'm thinking to myself, let's just get the tag titles on them. Let's just do it. Let's just rip the fucking Band-Aid off, because what else are we going to do with them? It's just like, what are we going to do? Like,
the horse factory, maybe?
I don't think so. You can't, there's not enough glue in the world to do that. I was sitting there thinking to myself, like, Zoe's not going to be a single star. We know Shayna's not a single star. Let's just put him back in the tag division, and maybe Sonya Deville can make something happen here with some Sonya Deville magic. I don't know. I was excited to see Sonya back. I like the idea of them being badasses. I've been always kind of like a closet Deville fan, so I just think that like it'll work, and like their shortcomings on the mic with both of them, even though I think Shayna's really entertaining, is like I think Sonya Deville can kind of patch up the work here, and they could be a cool, like, free bird them. Let them all have the fucking tag titles, and then they can switch out 3 different times. You know what I mean? Like,
Shayna is not bad on the microphone. Her voice does not connect to her persona.
Right. That's
because she is the badass, and she has a South Dakota accent. It's a nice little accent, but it's not badass. And I'm going to return Miss Stark to the wrestler that shall not be named category.
All right. That's fine. My other hope, because basing off of the Wyatt family, so we had this discussion, or at least I got my call out from my boy Guthrie. I guess it's a Guthrie Hope section here. He said, Nestlemania said, if they take their masks off, they're bad. If they wrestle, they're bad. I said, if they wrestled, they're bad. If you can find me the clip, Guthrie, I will bend the knee to you. But I will say this much. They can wrestle in the masks, but I'd subscribe to that. Bo Dallas, I don't want to see them without the masks, I guess, but like,
you just got that in the video, though. Every single one of them had their masks off.
But Nikki didn't. Did you notice that though? Why did they do
that? I couldn't tell if Nikki had her mask off or not, because
they didn't.
She's so pale anyways.
They did all the men, but they didn't do Nikki. Interestingly enough. Now look, I don't think I said the thing about the mask. I just think looking at it, it's more menacing. But maybe they have a better idea of it. So like, if in case I'm wrong, Guthrie, because I will say this much. I spew a lot of shit out of my mouth, so I could be wrong. If he finds the clip, I will bend the knee to Guthrie. But as I'm watching this, I'm thinking Joe Gacy makes sense. Eric Rowan's a good pop, and I don't give a shit about Dexter Lumis, so whatever.
Nor do I.
It made sense for Bo Dallas, I guess, because he's the leader of the group. But I'm always infatuated with the idea of why not Nikki? Like, why not? Is it because Nikki's the most like notorious person? Like, she's the most famous out of those 5 at this point?
I think, she has more of a persona in WWE outside of Sanity. She had the Nikki ASH run. I think that pretty much you might as well just keep the mask on her. We get it.
So my hope here, just to double down on this, is I don't want them to wrestle as regular people. If they start wrestling as regular people, like not in their masks, not in their fucking weird get-ups, to me, it just negates the whole fucking point of the Wyatt Six, in my opinion. Because like, why would you say in the promo on Monday, so you call us sick, then we'll be sick. We'll be sick. That's what we are. And it's like, okay, great. Like, I know masks, you can't emote with masks. I understand that. Like, Rey Mysterio is the exception to emoting in a mask. I get it.
Yes.
But I just look at the Wyatt Six and I think, please just keep those masks where they are. I don't want to see them wrestle. Like I said, cinematic matches are perfect. Fucking perfect.
Yeah. But and we can use a dash of that every once in a while.
Right. But the mask thing to me, like, if in fact I'm wrong and I did say it, or if I said it today for some reason, I'm sure he'll probably use that against me somehow. I get it, but I feel like it's not. I don't know. Like, if it was up to me, we all kind of already know what it is. Like, the fact that you're putting out their faces, it's just like, okay, great. Like, are we wasting time with it? I don't know. I feel like I just want to just promise me this. Just keep the idea of don't show Nikki's face, at least. Just don't show Nikki's face, because I think once you show Nikki's face, there's something about her that makes me go, oh man, it's Nikki. I don't know what it is about the others.
So I think you remember this conversation that we were having. I did not even know she was wearing a mask. I thought it was just the white face paint that the girl from the ring wore, which is frankly probably cooler than what she's wearing right now. You can keep the mask on her. I think she could work. I think she could work a match with that. All of the other ones, I'm sorry, there's no way in hell that Dexter Lumis is going to be able to wrestle as Mercy the Buzzard.
They shouldn't wrestle at all. But there we are. All right, let's move on. It's comeback season. Joseph, you are the guest.
Do not ever call it a comeback. Well, it is for me because it's been 5 years. But here we are. Now, we here at the Jobber Knocker not only respect jobbers, we have to acknowledge them. The artists formerly known as Maximum Male Models are back! The MXM collection! Mason Madden and Mansoor, the man that'll make you soar, so the promo said. I don't know. They could actually make Ring of Honor watchable if the promotion could be watched.
Listen, it's hard to. I'm not going to buy Honor Club. There's no way you can even remotely. They need to find a way. The fact that it had I'm sorry, but the fact that Ring of Honor has a women's and a men's TV championship is fucking stupid. They don't have a TV deal. They're not on TV. They're not doing anything. It's irrelevant. Ring of Honor is irrelevant.
Clearly, when my weekly reports have infected you and your hatred for Ring of Honor, I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
No, you have seen the infection, and you have poured more into my veins, Joseph, because Ring of Honor has been dog shit since he bought it. He being Tony Khan.
Yes.
It's been fucking, and even before then, it was on fucking loose legs. So it was in shambles.
I'll take Claudio as champion, but that was about it.
No, that was a stupid fucking move too. I hated everything about that. I just think that, and then he won the championship, and then nothing happened. Ring of Honor is the biggest waste of money and time and resources if you do not have a way of watching it. It might as well just be people wrestling in a warehouse. It doesn't make any sense. Nobody can see it. Nobody can watch it. Nobody can do anything about it. When's the last time anything's happened on Ring of Honor TV that we've actually cared about? We don't care. We do not care about Ring of Honor. It's stupid.
We can't watch Ring of Honor. We're not going to spend $9 a month for wrestlers that we could get to know, but we don't.
It's stupid. It's just fucking stupid. So I don't want them anywhere near my Ring of Honor. Just fucking just leave it alone. Dissolve. Just make everything AEW. My comeback this week. You know what? I'm going to change it up. I know we discussed it. We didn't say this. She looked fabulous. Trish Stratus never looks bad. She was in the role of the host of the Mostess, as she said, the hostess with Mostess, and they teased something that got me excited for SummerSlam. Tiffy time versus Trish Stratus. Oh, doctor, I am excited about that. So you know what? I am when I saw her go out there, I'm like, okay, her promo's always been cringy in my opinion. But
22 years and she hasn't been able to learn to cut a promo.
I think she just realized that pouring water all over herself and wearing, certain clothing, that was enough to get by in the Attitude Era. And then of course she learned
Jerry Lawler.
Then she learned how to wrestle. She was one of the best to ever do it. That's fine. But I will say this, Matt, I am excited for Tiffy and Trish. But here's what I'm going to say. This is a take that I'm sure is going to be annihilated by everybody that listens to this podcast.
And by me.
I was watching on Monday night, and I was thinking one thing. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I am not going to say that this is a Nestle person. She is not. I do not think she is a Nestle person. I am not going to curse this person. But I am going to make a suggestion. I'm going to put a prediction down right now. When this person retires, she will become not just a great wrestler. Lyra Valkyria will be seen as the best in-ring women's wrestler of all time. That's it. That's it.
She is deserving of so much more than your curse, Nestle.
It's not a curse. I told you, I don't like her. I'm telling you right now, she has the potential to be the female Daniel Bryan. She is better than everybody else I watch her with every single time. And I'm not even a fan of hers.
She's deserving of so much more than your curse.
No. I refuse to say that she is one of me. She's not in the Nestle household.
There's been way too much positivity from Lyra Valkyria from your lips. She's cursed.
No. I just said that she has the potential to be the best women's wrestler of all time. That's it. What she does with it is her fault.
And Mojo Rawley didn't have the potential to be a world champion?
Okay, that one's on me.
Yes.
That one's on me.
Well,
but this
that and Carl Anderson, yes.
Well, you know what? You can't fucking sit here and tell me this shit when you talk about AEW all the time. AEW. You're fucking nuts if you think that AEW is even remotely in the fucking stratosphere of wrestling with everybody.
I'm not calling Carl Anderson a world champion AEW.
Listen, again, that's on me. All right? But let's move
Consistently, yes.
Let's go to the big old finish here. We've got a lot to talk about. Let's see. What do they have on your favorite show here?
All right, so I've got the rundown for AEW Dynamite. Now, I am a Collision Cowboy, not the biggest AEW Dynamite person, but I have to say the last 2 weeks of Dynamite have been must-watch television. We have Mariah May in the finals of the Owen Hart Memorial Tournament. I think I got all those words right. We have Mariah May versus Willow Nightingale.
I mean, it's got to be our girl Mariah.
It does. It just makes all the sense in the world going into London with Mariah going up against Tony. It makes all the sense in the world. They could also do it for All Out. I'm when it comes to All Out and the big events of it, I'm also trying to think of All In, All Out. I get confused by the two of them very easily.
You put your right foot in, you put your right foot out. You know what I mean? So it is what it is.
Yeah, and you also don't schedule pay-per-views 2 weeks after each other. Yeah. Thanks, Tony.
Yeah. What a great fucking boss he must be.
I've heard the cocaine's never been better. Anyway, Hangman Adam Page looking to finish his story against Bryan Danielson, who is trying to finish his career. Who do you get?
My heart wants Bryan Danielson so he can have his fucking big kaboom at Wembley. Because if you don't have Bryan Danielson doing that, him wrestling some rando that's good at wrestling doesn't do much for me.
What he's going to do is he's going to lose this tomorrow in Calgary in front of Owen's fans. Well, I mean, I'm a fan of Owen and I'm not going to be in Calgary. But anyway, he's going to go after Okada, the guy who broke his arm at Forbidden Door. That's going to be one hell of a match, either at All In or All Out, or you shake it all about. I don't know.
I couldn't give less of a shit about Danielson and Okada. Okada has been a wet fart since he showed up in AEW. So
he's supposed to be a wet fart. It's comedy, Adam.
No, you do not make the man that is the mantle of New Japan a fucking comedy act. I'm sorry.
Isn't that exactly what TNA did?
You don't strap the fucking Continental stupid fucking classic title on him that means nothing and then make the guy that everybody thought was the best wrestler in Japan, probably one of the best wrestlers in the world, and you make him the guy that goes, shut up, bitch. Like, come on. Enough. It's not for me.
I'm here for it. You also have in the match that I know you've been drooling at the mouth for, Samoa Joe versus Chris Jericho in a Saskatchewan street fight.
Next. Nothing can save this match. Next, move on.
Actually, I don't even think they're in Saskatchewan. They're in Calgary, Alberta, which I should have known because I'm a Lance Storm guy. Nat, you have a four-way match, an International Fury match, I believe, of Claudio Castagnoli versus Tomohiro Ishii versus the Blonde Nestle, Kyle Fletcher, versus best wrestler in the world, Pac.
I couldn't give less of a shit about this match because there's no stakes. No stakes, Joseph. Moving on. Moving on.
That's all I have from
Wednesday. Okay, then there you go. Enough is enough. Moving on to Raw very quickly, or SmackDown, or wherever we got here. It seems like we've got Drew McIntyre returns, apparently, to talk to Adam Pearce. We've got a face-to-face with the Ring General and Damian Priest, and as well as we've got Sheamus and Bronson Reed. Any of that very exciting to you at all?
I'll take a Sheamus Bronson Reed match. Big meaty men slapping meat. You got to have it every once in a while, and you know that Sheamus is going to deliver the bangers.
All right. I don't have what's on SmackDown. I assume something Cody related. It is what it is.
It tends to be. It tends to be, Adam.
It is what it is. It's just let's find something to talk about. Yada yada yada. It is what it is. I think that's pretty much it, unless I missed something. But
I am tapped on notes, so I want to thank you so much, very much, for inviting me back in on the scene. Hopefully, I was kind enough to possibly get back in here. Maybe
we'll find out, won't we?
Well, it's a pleasure meeting up with you, good sir, and thank you for keeping me awake until at least 9 o'clock on most evenings.
I'm sure your wife's ready to go to bed, and so are you. You're an old man. Go to bed. I know. You get your Snuggie on. Thanks.
Yeah, pretty much.
Thank you again, Joe, for filling in, and thank you for listening, all of you, and watching the Jobber Knocker podcast. We'll be back next week. Hopefully, JC will be here. We'll see with some more Jobber Knockery.
Remember your Oxford commas, people.